Yoseo, hello, all my beautiful people. Welcome to the alternate point of view. My name is Tracy Lee, and today we are on part three of Murder on Joliet Place, the story of Samantha Wall, and how we are trying to figure out who actually killed Samantha and how it is that Michael Jackson Bolanos is on trial for her murder when there are so many other possible suspects. And when I say so many, I mean so many, including her ex boyfriend who actually confessed to the murder. Now, I would say he's possibly suspect number one, but there are others. Now, I want to recap the entire situation that happened, and I'm also going to show you a video from October 23rd, I believe, 2023, just a couple of days after Samantha Wall, who was the president of the downtown Detroit synagogue. She was a Democrat politician in Detroit. She was well loved, well known, very popular in Detroit. She was an activist. She was well liked, more than well liked. She had many suitors. She was successful. She was beautiful. So she had everything going for her. So I would say at her age, she was 40, she was at the peak of her life. She had a nice downtown townhome, but it was in downtown Detroit. She was a very trustworthy, I would dare say, pretty gullible, naive person to keep her doors unlocked in downtown Detroit. And every one of her friends knew her doors were unlocked, even though she had an alarm system. She did not really use it. So she was kind of, uh, she was a mark, really. She was downtown Detroit, left her doors unlocked, and didn't use her alarm system, and people knew about it. And I'm not saying that every criminal knew about it, but people knew. So, unfortunately, on October 21st, 2023, Samantha Wall would end up being murdered in her own home, stabbed 8 times. And 8 times in areas that would seem to be very, very harmful and suffering areas in the head, in the neck, and in ways that would just seem like you would want that person to know you're hurting them. So at the end of the day, Samantha's last night, she was at a wedding. She was having a good time. She came home around 12:31 a.m. and that is when her ADT alarm system shows that her front door was open. She also shows, now this is her alarm system just working itself. It's not on or off or armed or unarmed. It's just picking up motion sensors from the doors. Every window and door has an alarm sensor on it, motion sensor. And it shows that her door opened at 12:31 a.m. It also shows that her back door opened at 12:35 a.m. and closed at 12:38 a.m. We don't know what happened at the back door. We don't know what she did. We don't know anything. We know that, again, there's an open sensor on her front door at 1 a.m., which means that her front door was ajar or open for 30 minutes. The ADT system claims that the door was open the entire night, but there is movement at 4:20 a.m. again. So somewhere between 1:38 a.m. and 4:20 a.m., something happened to Samantha. And at 6:20 a.m., her body is found outside of her townhome, where somehow she was able to drag herself out to try to get help at the neighbors. So I'm not really sure why she drug herself out to that far. Maybe she knew the person next door wasn't home. Maybe that's why she went so far, because the townhomes literally are door to door. So I'm not really sure why she didn't go to the very next door. Instead, she went further down and around. So that's something that I have a question about. Also, she was found at 6:20 a.m. I played the neighbor's testimony, the first neighbor's testimony, yes, on my last video, because I had questions about how he claimed it was dark when he found her, but he didn't see any blood on the ground, but the ground was covered in blood. He didn't see any blood on the ground. He claimed he didn't step in any blood. He didn't get any blood on him when he checked her body, because he claimed that her body was turned backwards to him. So he was standing here, by the way, with a dog, and she was this way. This is her back. So he was this way, and he said that he bent down to touch a portion of her back that was revealed at the bottom portion of her back. That's what he said in the prelims, not in the trial. In the trial, he didn't say what part of her back he touched. He just said that he touched a portion that was exposed, and that he just kind of reached down from afar and didn't get any blood on him. And he was sure he didn't get any blood on him. Also, by the way, he's walking a dog. I don't know what this dog is. I don't know how big the dog is. I don't know if it's a little dog, a big dog, a puppy, a golden doodle, a poodle, a rat terrier. I don't know what kind of dog this is. So I don't know if the dog stepped in blood. I don't know if the dog stepped on the body. I don't know what happened with the dog. Nobody asked about the dog. So that's what I want to know. What dog? He said he didn't get any blood on him when he touched her. He said that she was blue and cold to the touch. I find that strange, because he couldn't see any blood on the ground because it was dark, but yet he could see that she was blue. Her back was blue and her feet were blue. So this is all at 6:20 in the morning. I'm going to show you the video of his wife testifying. They asked her a lot more questions than they asked him, and he was the one who actually found the body. Also, I'm going to let you listen to the 911 call from the neighbor who called to report that they found her, because the 911 call, and I'm just going to put this out there, clearly Detroit people are desensitized to the point that calling 911 is like calling out a takeout order, because there's zero sense of urgency that there's a person who's possibly deceased. They don't know. They're just saying she is. And to not give life-saving measures to a person who, may or may not be deceased. They decided that for themselves. And also, she wasn't dressed to go outside. So I just find it very odd behavior. But I guess it's living in the city. I don't know. So I also want to play for you guys the press conference, because this was on Forbes. Now, remember when I said that the Samantha Woll story was national news? October 22nd, 23rd, 2023, it was everywhere. It was on Fox. It was on CNN. It was on Forbes. It was all over. The White House was talking about it. And it was a big deal. And it was played out as Jewish synagogue president stabbed to death in her home. That's how it was played out. It was everywhere. And now they're saying nothing. It's crickets. You're getting nothing about it. So I do want to show you guys the breaking news that they did, where they had an entire press conference about it and how quickly they wanted to resolve this crime.
By thanking Michigan State Police, the FBI, and all of our partners in this investigation. Also want to thank the hardworking men and women of the Detroit Police Department, specifically the homicide section. Want to offer my sincere condolences to the family, friends, and loved ones of Samantha Woll. She is beloved. Everyone I have talked to has spoken about her contribution to our community, and she will be sorely missed. The purpose of this press conference is to bring clarity to the incident that has brought attention of our community, local and national leaders, and even international outlets. I'm going to lay out what we know now. I'm going to bring up the deputy chief over our homicide unit, and then we'll conclude with some comments from the FBI on this case. I hope everyone understands that we're limited in the information that we can share. This is an active investigation, and there will be points where we cannot share information. On the morning of Saturday, October 21st, a 911 call came into our 911 call center, and the call was regarding an incident that occurred at the 1300 block of Joliet Place. It was described as a person laying on the ground unresponsive. Responding emergency units made the location and declared that the victim was dead on scene. Upon investigation, it was determined that that victim was in fact Samantha Woll. While at the scene, police officers observed a trail of blood leading officers to the victim's residence, which is where we believe the crime occurred. An examination of the victim led to the discovery of multiple stab wounds on her body. What we know right now is that the victim, Ms. Woll, was at an event Friday evening. She left the event at 12:30 a.m. By all accounts, she was not in any discomfort, any distress. She was her normal, positive and pleasant self, as described by some people that we have interviewed. There was no signs of forced entry. Again, there was no signs of forced entry at her residence. We believe that there are no other groups or anyone else at risk in regards to this particular incident. We believe that this incident was not motivated by anti-Semitism and that this suspect acted alone. Again, that is what we know at this time. There are several factors that has led us to this conclusion. We are not in a position to discuss all of them at this point. Obviously, there are parts of the investigation that we cannot get into. Again, it is germane to the closing of this case. There are certain factors that are only shared by the suspect and our investigators. So there are certain key points that we, again, will not be able to discuss. At this time, I'll bring up Deputy Chief Sloan to get into some of the areas that we can discuss with you. Deputy Chief Sloan.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chief. Good afternoon, everybody. Sadly, Ms. Samantha Woll was found deceased in front of the 1300 block of Joliet Street on Saturday around 6:30 a.m. She was suffering from apparent stab wounds to her body. We are currently working with our partners, as the Chief mentioned, from the FBI and Michigan State Police to establish exactly what occurred in the hours and days prior to Ms. Woll's death. At this point in the investigation, we are examining every piece of evidence we have uncovered to determine what exactly led to this incident, as well as following up on the extensive amounts of information that we have gained during our investigation. We have and are in the process of conducting countless interviews to learn everything about Ms. Woll's life, including any possible motive or opportunity to harm her. What we do know, again, from what the Chief mentioned, is that Ms. Woll did attend an event on Friday evening, which we know was the wedding. She did return home around 12:30 a.m. on Saturday morning, and we did discover no signs of forced entry to her residence. At some point between returning home from this event and in the early morning hours when she was discovered, Ms. Woll was unfortunately fatally assaulted. By all accounts, Ms. Woll was very well liked in the community, so it is clearly very shocking to her family and to her friends that this incident has occurred. I'd like to extend our gratitude to the men and women of the homicide section, our partner agencies, for the endless hours that they have dedicated to this investigation. We are committed to our continued work with our partners to identify the person responsible in this incident. Again, the investigation is ongoing, and we continue to ask for the community's assistance in solving this crime, either through 1-800-SPEAK-UP or Rewards TV. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Chevalier Gibson. That's spelled C.
So then comes the FBI to get up there and speak. So you have the FBI talking, you have detectives, you have the state troopers, you have Detroit PD, you have homicide. They're thanking everyone who's working so hard on this case, who's done such a great job. Now, I ask you, Detroiters, how many press conferences do you guys do when there's a murder? I just want to know, how many press conferences do you do for a murder? And how many do you get up there with the chief, the FBI, the state troopers? Everyone up there is saying, you know, we are really putting everything in, and you're going out there and you're saying, speedy, quick investigation. We're going to get this wrapped up. We're going to find out who did this. And we're looking for the community's help. How many times do you have a press conference? Just curious. So needless to say, it sounded as if they kind of had an idea of who their suspect was in just the second day. Not even the second day, like barely the second day. It sounded as if they kind of were honed in on someone because they kept saying there was no forced entry. So they felt like it was someone that she knew because there was no forced entry. Now, maybe they were saying that because the door was open, but then again, there had already been cops on the scene, already been people in and out, so they couldn't say for sure if her door was open when they got there. Now, did that story change after they got Michael? Who knows? So I want to go over testimony from the neighbor's wife because her testimony is what is just with the 911 call, which is just so shocking because I can't understand why in the world I don't understand the 911 calls. They're just amazing to me how desensitized these people are in Detroit. And I'm also trying to understand how in the world, you hold a press conference for a murder, but I haven't seen Detroit hold press conferences for the other 268 murders that you guys had last year. If you have, I'm interested to hear it. So this is the wife, okay, of the neighbor that actually found the body, of Samantha. The husband found Samantha laying on the ground. He touched a portion of her back that was exposed, said she was cold to the touch and blue, but he couldn't see any blood. We don't know what kind of dog. No one's asked the dog how big it was, if it stepped in anything. I'm just fixated on this dog, y'all, because I find it hard to believe that it was dark and no one saw any blood. You didn't step in it, and you didn't get any blood on you, and you're sure of that, and you just had this dog. I know when I walk my dogs, they're complete, like they act like it's the first time they've ever gone out in their life every time they go out. So, and they're 11 and 14. So I'm just curious. I got questions. So let's watch the wife. Every time I do a video, I'm going to break down a testimony because I want to have you guys hear, so far this trial has not done anything to prove that Michael Jackson Bolanos did this. All these witnesses are witnesses for the prosecution. You gave a man immunity. I will say how the jury may or may not feel about that will be telling, because I think that if you give someone immunity to testify against someone you don't know, usually those are reserved for people like who were in on it or something, or were accomplices, obviously. So they gave this person some type of immunity because they are guilty of something. They knew. So by giving him immunity, what's he guilty of? What does he know? You don't give people immunity who didn't do anything or didn't know something. So I would hope that any logical person or anyone on that jury would understand that you're not giving this guy immunity because you don't think he did it, right? You're giving him immunity because you don't think that guy did it. And you need a stronger case because your case sucks. So let's get to the neighbor. She is like the homeowners association woman or something. I don't know. She's the president of the homeowners or something. But
Please state your name and spell for the record.
Jessica Robinson, JESSICA ROBINSON.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, ma'am. The gentleman that we just heard from, Kevin Mull, who is that to you?
He's my husband.
And can you tell the jury what happened when you woke up on the morning of October 21st of 2023?
I can. So we were dog sitting for a friend, and our dog was downstairs, and she was getting whiny. It was early, and so we were deciding who was going to go let her out, and he said, "I'll go do it." So he got up, got dressed, took the dog
again,
outside,
they're dog
and,
sitting, but then she said
it was
our
dog.
dog.
He came back in, and he said, "Hey, Jessica, there's a."
Objection to hearsay.
I think it would qualify as an excited utterance or threatened sense of impression, Your Honor, if I understand what the answers would be.
Oh well.
Your husband came inside and he said something to you.
He did. He came inside. I was upstairs. It's a 2-bedroom home. He came in the door. I could hear the door shut, and he said, "Jessica, there's a body outside." And I said,
What did you do in reaction to him saying that?
"Yes." I said something like, "Oh my God, what do you mean?" And he said, "There's a body outside." And I said, "We need to call 911."
And did you ultimately call 911?
I did, yes.
And have you had an opportunity to review an audio recording of the call that you placed previously?
I have, yes.
And I'm pulling what's been marked as People's Proposed Exhibit 6. Is it your understanding that recording is contained on this disc that's marked as People's Proposed Exhibit 6?
That's my understanding.
And to the extent that you reviewed that recording, does that recording appear to fairly and accurately depict the actual call that you placed to 911 on October 21st, 2023?
It does, yes.
Your Honor, I move to admit Proposed Exhibit 6.
No objection.
People 6 will be admitted and you may publish.
Okay, I'm going to play this on normal because you have to hear how totally just wildly monotone
21 2023
this 911 call is.
0624 and 52 seconds.
It's Victor 911. What's the address of your emergency? It's 1368 Joliet Place. What's your emergency for Crossroads? Lafayette and Regard. Is this an apartment, flat or home? It's townhouses. So Ms. Ethel, what happened? My husband was just out walking our dog. And he told me there is a person, potentially a body, laying on the sidewalk. He attempted to nudge the person, and they didn't move, and there's blood present, and the person's just laying there. Is it on your block? It's in our property. Yes, it's on my neighbor's sidewalk. And that's your neighbor's address? Yes, I live across there's a little park here in the community. I live right here. Now, where's the blood at? Let me ask Kevin, where is the blood?
Honey, what do you want for dinner?
On the sidewalk. On the sidewalk around the body. We'll go look again as well. Okay. I want you to be safe. Okay.
At the preliminary hearing, he said it was too dark.
We have security here on the property. We'll call them next.
I'm going to stop at about 2 minutes and 5 seconds. And at this point in the call, had you left your home yet to observe the body firsthand?
I had not. I was still inside.
Okay. I'm going to resume the call at 2 minutes and 5 seconds.
Okay, I'm getting, I just have police requested, I just have to get EMS requested also to the location. Okay. Yeah, I understand. Kevin, can I give you another number to call? Right. Can I give you another number to call? Are you with the patient now? No, we're still in our home across the street. We're putting some people back out.
So they're in their home. Very
How old
calm.
does the patient look?
I'm sorry, I cannot, the way the person is laying, I cannot see their face unless I, move the body. And all curled up in a ball, and the person's barefoot, and there's a lot of blood on the sidewalk around. It looks like there's possibly a younger woman that may be pregnant, I'm not sure.
Is a female?
I think so, just by what I can see. And she's all curled up like in the fetal position in a ball, so it's hard to see.
Okay. Is she awake?
No, I prodded her to see if she would wake up, and no reaction.
Okay. Is she breathing?
I did not look like, she looked somewhat blue,
She looked at blue.
looked to be a little bit blue, skin cut, like bluish skin color. I'll go back over there in a moment and look closer, but.
So they kept going back over there. But no,
That's their security. That's the guy in the truck right here.
okay, so by the way, the security guy testified and he said he didn't see a thing. And they're on the phone with 911 talking about.
If there's a defibrillator available, send someone to get it now. I'm telling you when you have it.
Would you like a side of fries with that?
Yes, ma'am. I'm not sure if that was correct. We do not have a defibrillator here.
No,
That's fine.
we don't want fries. Can we get onion rings
I'm sending
instead?
paramedics to help you now. Stay on the line. I'll tell you exactly what to do next. Are you outside yet with that? We're calling back outside.
Yeah, finally I got dressed.
Kevin, can you speak on your number? I have something. 393 656 2172. Okay, now we're walking back across the block. Yes, okay.
Hi, good morning. I resident here
Good morning. Hello. Good morning.
Resident at Lafayette.
Oh, ma'am, she's not. Good morning. Hello. And then she's not.
Good morning. How are you? Hello.
Okay, good.
Gonna stop at 6 minutes
What
and
the-
2 seconds. At this point.
Gotta keep up appearances, you
where
guys.
are you?
So our home is across the park, as I described in the call. We walked across the park and we were approaching the person, the body.
Okay. And when you first approached the body, were you able to recognize who it was?
I could not. No, we came from. Her back was to us. The person's back was to us.
Okay. At some point later on that day, though, were you able to recognize who the body was?
I was. As Kevin and I were standing there, I walked around to the other side and I noticed two things about the person that suggested to me I knew who it was. The first was she was wearing a jacket that had a logo on the back. It was Maccabees Basketball, a Jewish organization. And then what really suggested to me I knew who it might be was a hair clip in the person's hair that I did notice.
And who did you recognize it to be based on those items that you observed?
Yeah, I thought that it was my neighbor, Sam Woll.
And how well did you know Mrs. Woll?
So I face her building, so certainly see her coming and going from her home. Sam's lived there maybe 3 years. I'd actually.
Okay, so that was the neighbor's wife. She's the one who said to call, she chose to call 911. The husband says he told her to call 911. Whatever, it doesn't really matter. They finally call 911. The wife says she was not dressed to go outside. And neither one of them would perform CPR. They both refused. They said that she was already too far gone to try to perform CPR, but they both refused to perform CPR. So I don't know. I guess it depends on whatever situation you're in. But if there's a chance to save a life, I would hope that someone would do that, regardless whether they are dressed to go outside or not. Also, in case you didn't notice, the entire 911 conversation was very much like ordering food for dinner or whatever. It was very just calm until she was out on, the sidewalk and she could see people and she was like, "Good morning. How are you? Hello." Like it's no big deal. There's just don't look at this. Everything's fine. I mean, it's like, this is happening. So, I found the neighbors to be very odd, but whatever. I still have questions because they kept going back over to Samantha's body. How many times did they go over there? How many times did they possibly step in something? Could they have stepped in something? Could they have touched her again? Did they touch her again? Why didn't the husband call 911? He's the one who found her. Why is she relaying the message to 911 when, I don't understand. What was he doing while she's calling 911? Was he washing the dog's feet? Was he washing his hands? What was he doing? Why wasn't he calling 911? I just have questions about that. So that makes me very curious. So we're talking about Samantha Woll and why I believe the wrong person is on trial, Michael Jackson Bolanos. So in the last video, we talked about what happened the night Samantha was attacked, and that we feel that, or that I feel that she was attacked somewhere between 1:24. Sorry, I think I said 12 something earlier, but 1:24 when her alarm system stopped tracking. It gave up its motion time. At 1:24, it went idle, and at 4:20, it felt motion again. So somewhere between 1:24 and 4:20, something happened to Samantha. And I don't believe that Samantha was home alone. I believe that either, whether David came over or not, David's phone does not show that he was there. I believe a lot of people got eliminated due to their phones not pinging there. But as we know, as Jeff even said, I outsmarted the police. I know how to do it. I did it. I believe whoever did this planned it. They knew they were going to do it. I believe it was a crime of passion, but it was also a planned crime because I believe this person knew they were at a point with Samantha that if they couldn't have her, nobody could. So I believe this person planned it because there is no evidence, but there has to be. There's always something. There's always something. It could not be a perfectly clean crime scene. I believe that the person knew Samantha's house. The more I think about the blood droplets down to the basement, I believe that this person thought they were going to get out through the basement, but did not, because they noticed halfway down the stairs that door that leads is like a I guess community basement hallway for everybody, which is weird. But that's up north, y'all. That door was not open, and it was, had the little chain lock on it. So I believe that person saw that and went back up the stairs and got out through the front door that was partially ajar anyway. So regardless of how the person came in or came out, I think that it's the person that knew her apartment or her townhome. And, we have seen the video, the press conferences where they acted like it seemed like they had their person. It seemed like they had suspects in mind, But I want to also, because we're going to get into more of Jeff's testimony, but I want to also talk about the testimony and go over this best friend, this longtime friend that was Samantha's supposed friend from college. They've been friends forever. Uh, and I want to talk about him because he's the one that gave the police so many people to look at. So many boyfriends, ex-boyfriends, guys she was just talking to. He seemed to know a lot about Samantha's social life. What I will say he didn't know, which was shocking to me, but he didn't know that Samantha took Ambien for sleep. Now, this is a man who lived with Samantha. They've known each other since college. He knows all her deep dark secrets, according to him, and was very, very braggy about that because he thoroughly enjoyed knowing all of Samantha's, tidbits. But he didn't know that she took Ambien for sleep. And if you watch his testimony and watch those lips, they're very pursed. He gets it's almost as if he's like, I know something you don't know. But at the same time, he's very feels like it's a very fine line. He's got the lips that are pursed that are like, I know something you don't know, or they're pursed because he's like, oh, you're going to catch me because I've said something I shouldn't have said. And I don't want to get caught. But this guy is a winner. Let me tell you, you do not need enemies with friends like these. So we are going to get into longtime friend and see how this goes. Because let me tell you, I don't know if he possibly was a little jealous.
PAULSPURGEON.
SPURGEON?
GEON, correct.
And thank you. Sir, did you know someone by the name of Samantha Woll?
Yes. Sam and I went to college together. We met at the University of Michigan just over 20 years ago.
And what was sort of the nature of your relationship with Miss Woll?
We were close friends, dear friends, until she died in October. We were very close.
And throughout the 20 or so years that you knew her, were you close with her that entire time?
Yeah, I mean, there were certain points where our
see how he directs himself to the jury. He's very
12 to 15
narcissistic.
Years, we've been, best friends.
And was there ever a period of time where the two of you were roommates together?
Yes, we lived together in Woodbridge at the corner of Forest and Avery.
And how long ago was that you lived together?
We lived together about 2010, 2011, and 2012-ish.
Okay. And at around the time
how
that
tight his lips are.
That time, how often would you say you were in touch with Miss Woll?
I'd say 2 to 3 times a week.
Okay. And what was sort of the nature of your contact or communications with her? Was it in person? Was it over text or other forms of communication?
Text, in person, phone calls.
Okay. And when was the last time that you saw Miss Woll?
On the Saturday before, we hung out on the Saturday before. It was like a week before she was murdered.
Okay. And during your relationship and your friendship with her, were you sort of in tune with Miss Woll's romantic life?
Yes.
Okay. And how sort of in tune were you with what was going on in her romantic life?
Just like close friends, we talked about that just as anyone would normally talk with those types of things with their close friends about. I knew the guys she was talking to. I knew her thoughts on them and those types of things, like you would with your friends.
And based on your friendship with Miss Woll, were you also in tune with what was going on in her professional life?
Yes.
And what did Miss Woll do professionally?
Well, she worked in politics and organizing. She was about to start a job at America Votes. I think she officially had started working at America Votes just before she was murdered.
Okay. And did she also have a role with the downtown synagogue?
Yes. So it wasn't a paid position, but she was the president of the synagogue at the time she was murdered. Yeah.
Okay. And
it's really weird that he keeps saying she was murdered because for me, it would be really hard to say that my friend was murdered. It would be so hard.
Depicted in the photo that's been marked as proposed to the 26.
That's Sam.
And does that fairly and accurately depict what she looked like before her passing?
It does, yes.
Your Honor, I move to admit proposed to the 26.
No objection.
People's 26 isn't ready to be held. You can take the original.
When and how did you learn of Miss Woll's death?
She's so pretty. Her smile is so pretty.
The place where she lives, or where she lived, because of the police activity that night, sent out an email very, very early in the morning, and a friend of a friend saw it and shared it with me. It wasn't explicit, the message that I received from the place where she lived. It just said something tragic had occurred at, and then it gave her apartment number. So, but there was a phone number on this notice. So I called up the phone number and I said, "That's my friend's apartment. Which hospital is she at? Which hospital is she at?" And the woman said, "I'm so sorry. There's no hospital for you to go to."
And this would have been the same day that the sort of news broke about her passing?
Yeah, so that was early Saturday morning.
That day, did you go to the Detroit Police Public Safety Headquarters?
Yes,
And when you were there, did you talk with some police officers?
I did, yes.
And when you spoke with those police officers, did you talk about some people that were in Miss Woll's life?
I did.
And what was your purpose for talking about sort of those specific people with the police?
From where I was sitting, I wanted the police to look at those people and rule them out. I didn't think any of the people the names I provided did any harm to Sam, but I wanted those people to just be dealt with.
Okay, and was one of the names that you discussed with the police Jeffrey Herbstman?
Yes.
And are you familiar with Mr. Herbstman personally?
Yes.
And who is Mr. Herbstman to Miss Woll?
Sam and Jeff met each other at the downtown synagogue. They dated for a long time, but for like a year.
Okay.
There is
And
a
do you know approximately
stark
when Mr. Herbstman
difference
came into,
in the way he
Miss
talks
Woll's life?
about Jeff to this guy
I mean, she probably would have met him like right when she moved down to
than the
Woodbridge,
way
and
he
she started
talks
going to the
about
downtown
him to the
synagogue. He may have been
defense.
around back then.
when-
Objection is cause for speculation. He doesn't know him. He's speculating.
So you can't guess, but if you know for sure when they started dating, or around the time they started dating.
Yeah, and if I can just, I guess, pinpoint my question specific to, if you know around when they started dating, not necessarily when he came into her life in general.
They dated for about a year.
Okay. And to your knowledge, were they still dating at the time of Miss Woll's death?
They were not, no.
And do you remember how long it was before her death that they stopped dating?
Yes, about a month.
Okay. And can you describe just to the extent that you personally know about it, what was the breakup like? Was this a messy breakup?
The breakup, I wouldn't say it was messy. I thought Jeff was a great guy, and I thought I thought Sam was great too. That they were both wonderful people. I just didn't feel that they were a good match. I just couldn't help but think that there were better people for Sam out there. I thought Jeff deserved somebody that would match him better, and I thought Sam deserved somebody who would match her better. There were some things about Sam's personality that I
just want to point out that someone who is so chatty and so ready to just give out all of his besties' information to detectives and throw out all of these names that he threw out is at a loss for words at the moment on the stand on how to describe how Jeff and Sam were not a good match for each other, and that, he just doesn't know how to describe Jeff. But when he gets asked by the defense, he is very frank about how he does not like Jeff. He never liked Jeff, and he couldn't wait for Samantha to get away from Jeff. So it is a stark difference. But yet somehow, some way, the very synagogue that is in downtown Detroit and the very people that didn't like Jeff for Sam when Samantha was alive are suddenly pro-Jeff now. What is happening? I don't know if there is a cover-up going on or if there is a sort of community thing that is happening in Detroit amongst the Jewish people, that they just want peace and they just want it to go away. But I really, truly believe that this would not be happening if I don't know Samantha. I don't know her. I just believe with my heart that Samantha would be fighting against the wrong person being accused of her murder. And I believe that Samantha is going to speak through this trial in some way. She is yelling out that something is wrong. And all of the witnesses they have brought forward have not brought any substance to this case so far as showing that Michael Jackson Bolanos is guilty. This best friend who supposed best friend who told all these things about Samantha's life,
thought we're
Yeah, so based on your
he named
based on your sort of relationship
Jeff.
with Miss Woll, did you ever develop any understanding as to whether there were any attempts to reinitiate a relationship between Miss Woll and Mr. Kurtzman?
Yes.
She
threatening in any way towards Sam?
No, not
No,
threatening.
No, he was never
threatening.
Never physically.
But he put his name out there.
Like
and then
I did. Yeah.
And is Aaron Pergament somebody who
Aaron
knew
Pergament.
personally,
Let's put Aaron on the list.
No, Aaron's not somebody I know.
He didn't know Aaron.
Relationship with Sam, were you able to develop an understanding of who Aaron Pergament was to her?
But he put Aaron on the list.
Behavior spilled over into his social life too, where he would be more aggressive and like trying to see, hey, how you doing? What's going on? You know, that kind of stuff.
Okay, but no concerns about anything violent?
No violence.
Anything of that sort?
No.
Okay. When you spoke with the police, was one of the names that you discussed a Robert Becker?
Robert Becker.
Yes.
Yep.
With Sam, did you have an understanding of whether or not they had any sort of relationship together?
Yes.
And what was your understanding of what their relationship was?
They had a collegial work relationship, but they
but that he
for
wasn't
various,
violent.
Their journey in life, and so I just wanted to the police to make sure that everybody was.
Yeah. So nobody's violent.
Describe
just want
your
throw people
understanding
out there.
of what the relationship was?
Yeah, they so Sam had just gotten out of a year relationship, and so there were different guys.
Yeah, different guys.
What sort of your relationship has been with Mr. Wilkinson?
Yeah. So another
should just,
guy.
Again, look into rule
So
out and go on there.
all these guys. You should just throw
And,
all these guys out there. What
um,
about him?
Yes,
what about Paul?
But she was by no means like a big drinker or anything like that.
Okay, and did you ever know her to consume marijuana?
Yes.
And how often would you know her to be a consumer of marijuana?
So marijuana is a big topic of
Regularly.
conversation in
And
this
do you know
trial.
what her sort of preferred method of consuming marijuana was?
It changed. It ebbed and flowed over time.
Ebbed
Do you
and
know whether
flowed.
she ever used like a vape pen to consume marijuana?
She did. Yes.
I was
And
gonna ask her about the sleep.
throughout the 20 plus years you've known
20 plus years.
Samantha Woll, did you know her to have any enemies?
No.
Throughout the 20 plus years that you knew Miss Woll, did you ever know anyone who wanted to hurt her for any reason?
No.
Throughout the 20 plus years that you've known Miss Woll, did you ever know her to associate with someone by the name of Michael Jackson Bolanos?
No.
Okay, nothing further.
Okay, thank you. Nothing further.
Yes.
So he's gonna get up here. This is Brian Brown, defense magic right here.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
And he is going
Now,
to
The question was asked of you of which
show his
David
true colors.
Wilkinson contact information would have been under Samantha's phone, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and you indicated that it was an alias.
Yes.
Okay. Did you frequently look through her phone and her phone contacts?
No.
Okay. Did she ever share certain bookmarks from her phone, like or articles she might have saved?
Yeah.
Okay. Did she ever share with you the article that she bookmarked, "Why You Need to Date Someone Who Scares You"?
Not that I recall.
So you're not familiar with that particular article that was saved on her phone?
Not that I recall.
Okay. Has she ever spoke to you about dating someone or wanting to date someone who potentially scares her?
No.
Okay. You indicated to the police, or you felt this way, that Sam had her own mental issues like depression she was going through, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you also indicated and felt that the people that she was attracted to or she associated with had some type of mental issues also, correct? You stated that, right?
I'm sorry, what is the question?
You felt that, just to be clear, you felt that Samantha had her own mental issues, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And that some of the individuals that she was attracted to
This is what I mean.
also
Why
have
would you say
mental
these
issues,
people?
sort of like a tie that binds, or some type of connection on that particular front. That'd be fair?
People in her life.
Okay. And you also felt some of these people were self-loathing and depression, correct? You used those words, right?
Some of the people in Sam's life.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And you felt that they could possibly harm themselves, the people in her life.
Yes.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
but they weren't harmful. None of the people that
Now-
he put, you know.
Jeff Hersman, you indicated that you're familiar with him on a personal level.
Yes.
Okay. And you were under the understanding that you and yourself and others were consistently telling Samantha to get rid of him. Your words, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
See, totally
And there
different
was
story
a period
now.
of time when she went to Utah, and it was your understanding the reason she went to Utah is to basically get Jeff Hersman out of her system, right?
That is correct. Yes.
And she came back from Utah, and she continued to speak with Mr. Hersman after going on that trip to Utah, correct?
Correct.
And you felt that basically, what was the point of going to Utah to get rid of him if you're continually trying to speak with him, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you expressed that opinion you had about that to Samantha.
Yes.
Okay. And you basically she's going to basically do what she wants to do, so to speak, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And to be honest, she didn't really like you criticizing her about whether or not she was going to continue to date Mr. Hersman, correct?
I don't know.
Okay.
Oh, see, he was like,
But you do know that Samantha had a particular, I guess, personality. If she could be potentially criticized, she may hide that information from people who may criticize her, correct?
Mm. She was very frank with me about her relationship with Jeff, despite
Okay.
the fact that I wasn't a fan of it.
Okay. To be clear, my question is, you knew Samantha had a type of personality where if she could seek potential criticism from somebody, she may hide that particular object of criticism from that person.
Perhaps.
Okay. Now, Bob Becker, he wasn't Jewish, was he?
Not that I'm aware
It's
of.
another guy.
And Samantha never introduced Bob Becker
Which-
to her parents
okay,
because your
let me
understanding he wasn't Jewish, correct?
shorten this.
I don't think the relationship was in a part where
So he throws this guy, Bob Decker, out as a potential suspect. Bob Decker, by the way, she had not seen since like 2016. This is 2023. She hadn't seen this guy. He was a married man with children. She hadn't seen the guy since 2016. Apparently, he had reached out to her at some point in time, and Samantha had been ignoring him. But Paul felt that he was significant enough to throw him into the mix. I don't know if he's significant enough, but he felt he was. And he was telling Samantha to contact him and go ahead and do the deed with him, whatever, because if that would help her get over Jeff. I don't know what the connection was between her and Jeff, but they broke up, they got together, they broke up, they got together, they broke up, they got together, whatever. But no one liked Jeff. Everyone thought Jeff was weird, but no one has said why they thought Jeff was weird, other than that he was a much more reserved type of person. Jeff did mushrooms, he smoked pot, he was on a lot of antidepressants, different type of medications. He was switched around on different type of medications. So I don't know. Maybe Jeff was a ticking time bomb. It's the quiet ones you got to watch out for. Or maybe Paul, because Samantha would never listen to anything he told her about her relationships. I don't know. She also had another suitor, David, who she's known since college, who was kind of like a friend with benefits, I guess. I don't know. There's several people that he threw under the bus. Okay. He kind of has some animosity. There's some bitterness there when you hear him talk. I don't know if he's a possible suspect to me. He's a jealous friend. I don't know if he's jealous because Samantha, I don't know what he does for a living. I don't know who he is. He's not Jewish. So I don't know if he never really felt in the circle, maybe he is a jealous friend. Maybe he is wanted more with Samantha. I don't know. There's all kinds of things to think about, which is my point. There are more suspects and doubts in this case than there are reasons to have Michael Jackson Bolano sitting there as a defendant. So I just wanted to point out a couple of more testimonies that were on the stand. I'm not going to make everyone sit through every one. If you choose to go back and watch some of these, feel free. But I am going to go over a few testimonies in each video because I want to be sure that we are combing through and going back and checking and seeing what questions were not asked that could have been asked. With the longtime best friend testimony, I just want to point out things that were not played. He did not know she was on Ambien for sleep. which is strange. If you've been friends with her for over 20 years, I cannot believe that. He did not have a code to her lockbox to get into her house. He didn't even know she kept an extra key, so he says. If you're her best friend and you know about all of her sexual rendezvous, how would you not know? He says that she really didn't sleep on the couch often. He wasn't aware. He didn't think she slept on the couch in this new townhome or since she'd been living in this one. I mean, I don't know. It's funny to me you would know all of her sexual escapades, but you don't know other things like, sleep medication and stuff like that. So I just find him a little strange. I feel like he felt he was better than anyone else, or that he knew more about her than anyone else. And I think he took a lot of pride in that. I think is a little self-loathing as he depicts is that those are the kinds of friends she chooses. So I found that very strange. With the neighbors, again, I will tell you, I think the dog is a significant question. It's a legit question. I also find it a legit question that they didn't ask the wife. Did you step in any blood? Did you touch her? Did you get anything on you? Because she did go out there several times. And what did she do to determine that Samantha wasn't worth trying CPR on? I mean, I want to know. So there are questions. I have more questions, and I'm sure everyone else does too. So if anyone else out there has any other things to offer, let me know. If you have any questions, let me know. I will tell you it takes 12 to 24 hours for rigor mortis to set in. It's a process. So she wouldn't have been absolutely stiff or anything at 6:20 in the morning. She would be turning blue. The lividity would be starting to happen in her body with the blood settling at about 6:20, 6:30 in the morning. If she had been sitting out there since around 4:20, 4:25, possibly, I don't know how long it would take her to crawl to that distance. But she would have been having lividity set in, and blue would have been becoming a color on her. As far as her body temperature, if she would be cold to the touch, it takes, you drop 1.5 degrees, depending on the temperature. Now, it was 40, 44, something like that, 40 to 44 degrees that night. So depending on that, the temperature, the amount of blood loss she had, she would probably dropping a lot faster. So she could be cold within 2 hours, I would say. But it actually takes a pretty good amount of time to drop body temperature to room temperature even. So it takes a little bit, but given the temperature, given the amount of blood loss, I mean, my God, she was saturated. She could be cold to the touch by that point, but rigor would not be set in yet, but the blue coloring would be a possibility. So now, I would just say again, I don't believe she was killed at 4:20, attacked at 4:20. I do believe the attack happened somewhere between 1:24 and actually before 4:20. 4:20 is when she's crawling out of the apartment. Anyway, I'm going to go over some more testimony, especially the medical examiner, because I want to point out again where I feel that they didn't do enough in the autopsy. They rushed through it. I didn't hear a lot of things. I'm going to go through that in the next video because I want to talk about the autopsy, what the medical examiner said, where the stab wounds were. I'm going to show you some pictures of where they were, and we're going to discuss those things, and we're going to keep talking about this trial until it gets some traction, you guys. This trial needs traction. We need to get justice for Samantha Woll, and we need to get justice for Michael Jackson Bolanos. Y'all keep talking about this trial. Watch the trial every day. It's going to be live on the alternate point of view. Every single day that they have trial, we are going to be watching it live on the alternate point of view. Please like, subscribe, share. It helps the algorithm. It will help get this trial out there. We need to talk about it. This was national news, you guys, until suddenly it wasn't. And I'm going to say it as I say it every time. I believe it's because it does not fit the narrative. Okay. This trial does not fit the narrative. You cannot have a young Black man on trial right now with the tensions that we have rising in this country, with Israel at war with Hamas. And I'm saying Hamas because the Palestinians have nothing to do with it. It's Hamas. And I'm saying that there are also other wars happening, things that are happening in our country. And this does not fit because this is not what supposed Democrats stand for. Okay. So we have a Black guy on trial for killing a white woman and who was a Jewish synagogue president and in politics. This doesn't fit. This can't fit. You can't make a square peg fit in a round hole. Okay. So they're keeping this on the lowdown. Remember, but the president is keeping an eye on it. Don't forget, he wants to know. He wants to be sure. So, guys, keep talking about it. Keep liking, subscribing, sharing. These videos will be long because there is a lot to dig into the Samantha Woll case. We do not want to stop until we find out who actually killed her. Okay? And make sure that Michael gets justice and gets to go home to his family and start his life. Kamsahamnida. Thank you. I appreciate everyone. I will see you in the next video.